My question, what is the singular greatest on-field controversy the game has ever seen? My brain immediately goes to Mizzou, Colorado 5th down, the Miami, Ohio State call in the national championship game, and the crooked Big 12 refs putting 1 second back on the clock for Colt McCoy after Ndamukong Suh ripped his soul from his body all game. What y'all got, fellas?
My first thought was the Miami, Ohio State. That's one that always, and I'm maybe because I live in South Florida and hear all the time Hurricanes fans complain about it, but that was, I mean, in that moment, you know, on that stage to have that call, it is, I think that's probably would be atop everyone's lists.
It was so late.
Was it bad or just
that
late?
Flag came in so late. And that's where I don't know if I am firm enough in my stance about it being a bad call, but it looked bad because of how late the flag came in. Because you thought it was done, and then, oh no, there's actually a flag back there. So, I mean, given the stakes, that one was certainly on my list. I've got do you want me to flag?
I just pulled
was
it
that
up.
The same year that Notre Dame got screwed in the Orange Bowl? Was that 91?
No, that was 02, 03.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was going back to back potentially for Miami. They had just
sorry. I was thinking about the Colorado one.
I'm watching two things. Maurice Claret, he's a young number 13 he's on this watch the Ohio State players' reactions. They didn't think it was a call. They thought the game was over. Craig Krenzel's going back, like head down. It's like, what just happened?
Oh, okay. Yay. All right. So I'll flash a couple on the screen here. Robert agreeing with the Ohio State Miami. This one was very good. How about 2016? Yeah. Michigan, Ohio State. JT Barrett, was the spot good?
Oh,
I think this one resonates more now because as Michigan was not able to get past Ohio State for all those Harbaugh years, I was frequently pointing to, but look how close they were, because Michigan on 3 different occasions showed up to the Ohio State game where a win would have given them a share of the Big Ten East or outright Big Ten East, a spot in the Big Ten title game. That was one of those years. So that one, obviously, a big on-field controversy. I'm going to say the spot was good, though. I think the spot was good. But that one was definitely a big one.
I think the Rocket Ismail punt return in 91 called back in that Orange Bowl against Colorado is pretty insane. Like, if you guys haven't been alive, because the chat's asking, explain this. So it's Colorado and Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. Colorado's going to get a share of the national title if they win. It's pretty late in the ballgame. Notre Dame forces a punt. Notre Dame, Ismail runs the punt back and gets called back on really a pretty phantom, very sketchy clipping call that was like, if we had social media at the time, it would have broken the internet. So It didn't, because it was 1991. But that one is a good one to YouTube and check out for sure.
Okay, I need to check. I definitely don't have that one. That's my own bias here. What about this one from the 90s? Nebraska's 1997 flea flicker against Missouri. If called, they have to try again after a 15-yard penalty. If Nebraska doesn't share the natty that year, Osborne probably doesn't retire.
Does it have to be intentionally kicked, or is any touching of the foot a penalty?
That's a good question.
Maybe we have some refs in the
chat.
You
have to intentionally kick it, don't you?
Yeah, for it to be a penalty.
I think so, yeah.
Like there has to be intent. Let's judge intent back in 1997. I'm sure we were great at that as much as we are in 2024. Let's see.
I'll go back. Are we talking only on-field stuff here?
Yeah. That's
bad calls.
19.
That is controversy is a bad call, especially if it has great ramifications.
1995, Florida State versus Virginia.
Oh,
forget how many seconds were on the clock, maybe 12. Direct snap to Warwick Dunn, takes it across the goal line. Officials don't see it. Ball kind of fumbles out, then he has to drop on it. If there's instant replay, I think he crossed the plane. One of the worst calls. Probably cost us the national championship game or a title, because that took us back. That set us back We were devastated from that when we ended up losing to Florida the last game of the season, but I think we carry the momentum through. I think we win it all if we get that call.
It's a November game, right?
Oh, yeah. It might have been Halloween. Like it was late October, early November, Thursday night. We were number 1 in the country. Come roaring back right there on the goal line. Great gutsy call from Mark Richt to put it in the hands of Warrick Dunn. And he crossed the goal line. He was in.
If you want to stay on the Florida State side, the one against Florida, the Lane Finner game, which like they don't even recognize, is pretty wild to see that again. Some really shady stuff happened back when there wasn't replay and there wasn't like good quality cameras.
The question asked this, but do you agree with the 1 second back? I mean, it's just the image of Mac Brown on the sideline holding up that one. And for those who don't remember, the 1 second left on the clock allowed Texas to kick a field goal. They won 13-12 against Nebraska in the Big Ten championship game. The Colt McCoy and that awesome offense totally held in check by Ndamukong Suh, a Heisman Trophy finalist. That's how awesome he was on the interior of the defensive line for the Cornhuskers. But yeah, that sends Texas to the BCS National Championship game, which they would go on to lose to Alabama, the Crimson Tide's first in the run with Nick Saban as head coach.
By the way, I did not know Sue. This is random. I just saw him tweet something last night. He did a deep dive on the airline industry. Very interesting on why travel is so complex now and why there's so many issues. It's very, like I'm talking like 15 threads, like long form tweet thread, if there's such a thing.
And
history of flying, like it's deep. It is a deep dive.
And Ndamukong Suh did this?
Yeah. It's one of the more random things I've ever seen. He's a different
I wish
cat.
he would have done that at the opening in like 2016 when he would not get out of the way of everybody trying to actually like film like the offensive line and defensive line drills that we all came out there to see. Like he wasn't coaching, he was just a guest there. He just like insisted on being like 300 pounds and standing like right in everybody's way the whole time. It was insane.
I mean, I'll read you just a tweet from the third thread. It wasn't until Boeing released the 707 in the 1950s that commercial air experiences resembled today. Still, it was extremely expensive and not many flew. And then continues and continues and continues. Like there's a history lesson in there too. It is bizarre.
Do you know what that seems like to me? That seems like someone who got frustrated about leg room on a long flight and then all of a sudden was like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. We used to have more leg room. We used to be a country, says Ndamukong Suh.
I do want to push back a little bit. Like, I don't know that 95 FSU beats 95 Nebraska. That was the team that beat Florida by like
a billion.
50.
Yeah. They smoked.
62-24. That was a pretty insane team.
Come on, bud. Watch your mouth.
You would have given a better game. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Nebraska was an absolute
that team
wagon.
was insane.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't think this was I guess, all right, this one doesn't count as a controversy, right? Oklahoma State and Iowa State. I remember the missed field goal, but there wasn't a.
No, that's like this year saying Florida State, was left out.
Yeah. Okay.
Or like 73 Ohio State, Michigan. Yeah.
Or 6 of Alabama's titles.
But do you remember the Central Michigan Oklahoma State game in 2016 where there was an untimed down Hail Mary for the Chippewas to be able to knock off a Cowboys team that ended up being pretty good that season, yet was weighed down tremendously in the college football playoff rankings by a loss to Central Michigan? That was controversial. And if that obviously was Central Michigan, it was early in the season. If that same result had happened in November, good gravy. It would have been way bigger. We just didn't know how good Oklahoma State was going to be that season and how impactful it was. But yeah, that was controversial. That was not a good call for sure.
The one we didn't, but the Colorado 5 downs was one of the more, like you talk about social media breaking the internet, like that one. And could you imagine all like the screen grabs and the replays and showing and counting them out for you? That was one of those epic failures that, it's like, how does that happen?
All right, here we go. Ready?
Ooh. That's a great one.
Georgia's overturned targeting call against Marvin Harrison Jr. in the Peach Bowl. Maybe more recent, but if it stands, there's a good chance that Georgia does not repeat, and Ryan Day has a national championship right now.
I thought it was the right call, but I don't really believe in targeting as a concept. So it was bang bang. Like,
But it was targeting on the field.
yeah, I'm glad they overturned it.
Danny?
I thought by the rule it was targeting. I'm like Bud, I am not a fan of targeting. I think we've gone too far, but I think by the rule it was targeting.
That one is that one rings out big.
And the implications, because they are 100% right. What if Ryan Day has a natty right now? We're not having the same conversations that we've had for 2 years in a row now. Like, oh, what's going on at Ohio State? You know, was Ryan Day, how much pressure he's got on him. It's a totally different feel.
Right. Because they made the title game in 20, but got blitzed by that awesome Alabama team. Maybe not blitz. That's maybe not fair, but I remember that game.
They ran through everybody. That 20 Alabama ran through everybody.
Yeah.
Do you guys know that until 1971, Big Ten schools could not go to the Rose Bowl in back-to-back years? And until 1975, no Big Ten school could play in a bowl that was not the Rose Bowl?
Did not know that. Did you see that on Sue's timeline?
No, but I'm sure he'll get to it pretty soon.
But there were only like 12 bowl games back then. That was when we had the discussion going into this bowl season about like how many bowls there are. And I mentioned that even in 2001, it was only 22 bowls. Now we're up to 40. You know, that I could see the Big Ten having those kinds of rules because going to the Rose Bowl used to be the great reward for being the Big Ten champion.
True.
See that. All right. Got a couple
other.
other.
The Miami Duke.
Octilateral. Yeah. Knee was down.
Oh yeah. There were
all
kind of laterals that were forward, right?
Oh, speaking of knee down, Auburn, Oregon, Michael Dyer.
Oh yeah.
You think his knee was down?
I don't know. I'm undetermined.
Controversial, I guess you could say that, but I'm gonna say.
Does that feel like the only time, like one of the only times we've let that roll? Like most of the times, if it appears he's down, it's blown dead. They stop it. That to me seemed like one of the ones that just kind of got away with it.
Like
it made it a little more controversial.
Like nobody called it. All of a sudden he's gone, and then you go
right.
Wait a second. I don't know. The power of Cam Newton was too strong with that team. His knee hovered. He got carried along all the rest of the way. He carried the rest of the team. So why not?